For the next panel, we are combining District 4. Mr. Hall, John B. Hall, on my extreme left, he is running to assume that position. District 5, we've got Mr. Pagano and Mr. Holloway running for District 5, Wacomico County Council. So we've consolidated both on this panel this evening for the purposes of, we're trying to expedite things. It's almost 9 o'clock right now. So I'm going to ask the gentleman to come before us and let us know in a minute or so why they are running for the position. I'm going to ask you to keep in mind what the mission of the organization is that is presenting this forum this evening, and as you give your responses, if you can form a connection, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Hall, District 4.
Mr. Shante, Mr. Penn, NAACP members, honorable elected officials, and candidate wannabes. I've been involved in the community and run a successful business and had a balanced family life for a long time in this area. I've worked for my church, served my country in the military, assumed leadership roles in youth programs, civic programs, social programs, educational programs, business programs, and have been a community activist. I hope I have made a positive impact on our community. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and my job is not to extend the length of the tunnel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Joe Holloway. I represent District 5 presently, and I'm running for that seat again. District 5 consists of the northern east side of the county, from Willards to Pittsville, into Walston Switch, Parsonsburg. It extends over to Delmar and into the west side of Delmar, into the rural areas. I ran for the county council in 2006, and I had the unique privilege, along with some of the other council members, at that time to be one of the first councils in a number of years that suffered through a recession. We started in the recession. And I ran into a council member that had been a council member a couple times years before, and he said, "I don't know how you guys are doing it." He said, "Every year for you it gets worse on the budget." And I said, "You're correct, it does." And you know, we've got that big pie, or that pie we have to slice up. And it's no different than folks at home when they get their paycheck and they have to slice that pie up and decide where the money goes. We have to decide that, and it's tough decisions we have to make. And I'm going to go from there to when we got this audit from the school board a few weeks ago. It was very disappointing. I've heard it described different ways. The Daily Times described it as a financial failure, and I don't agree with the Daily Times very often, but I really agreed with them in that aspect. Money's being spent that should be spent in the classroom. We've heard for the past 8 years I've been on the council how the Board of Ed needs more money, more money, more money. And when you look at those figures and see where that money's going, it's very, very disappointing. So I'll address that later on. My time's up. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and also the NAACP, Mr. Shante, for having this event. It's a great event. My name is Ron Pagano, and I'm running in District 5. And my background is as an attorney, as an investment advisor. I've been a court commissioner, and I've also been a business owner and jobs creator, as loose as that term has been thrown around in the last few years. My real background, though, and my experience over the last 40 years has been in advocacy. I've been an advocate ever since high school, when our Board of Education in New York City decided to support a school bus strike, and it allowed the able-bodied students to take public transportation. They could get to school, but the disabled students were unable to do that, and they had to stay home for 3 weeks, missing school, missing almost an entire month of work. That wasn't fair. We changed it. We got the Board of Education to end the strike within a week of after going down there and arguing with them. So I fought the Board of Education. And I'm supportive of our current Board of Education. I think there's a lot of issues that need to be looked at. But my advocacy has been in the areas of equal employment opportunity, fair housing, and also in the areas of public transportation. We need to have a vision for Wacomico County. My vision is for every student to graduate high school and for every graduate to either go on to college or to be able to enter a vocational training program and get a good job and stay here. I want our kids to come home and say, Mom, Dad, I've decided to stay here in Wacomico County and work the family farm. Or, Mom, Dad, I just got a great job here in Wacomico County, and I've decided that I want to raise my family here, get married, buy a house, and live here. Those are the kinds of visions we should have for our kids. Our kids should always be part of our vision when we're talking about the future of Wacomico County. So I can talk a lot more about that, but I know my time is up.
Well, I'm going to compel you a little bit to do that right about now. Jobs and housing, how are we doing county-wise, particularly with regards to, is there an economic, racial disparity between jobs? African Americans or Hispanics less likely to get the higher paying jobs? Issues related to housing, is there a disparity there along racial and economic lines as well? So, and if there is, what are you going to do, if elected, to address that disparity? You want to take a crack at it? Go ahead.
I have said this many, many times, that I will go anywhere, talk to anyone, anytime about job creation. I have been a job creator. I have owned businesses. I have started businesses. I have sold businesses. I've hired employees. I've had employees. First of all, let me say that I do support a minimum wage, a fair minimum wage. $7.25 an hour is not enough to raise a family, let alone do anything outside of buying bread and milk. We're talking about a situation, I know it was raised here before this evening, that these jobs, minimum wage jobs, were meant for teenagers coming out of school or in school. And that's great. That's what they were meant for. I had a job in high school. I worked in a paper box factory over the summertime, and I worked doing telephone sales in the wintertime when I was in high school. That's not what we have these days. We have adults with families and single-family parents who cannot raise their kids. And what does that cost us? That costs us, as a county, it costs us in terms of the SNAP program, it costs us in terms of the food stamp program, because those people are not getting by on what they're making as a minimum wage. We need to support them separately from what they're making. Some people are working 2 jobs, they're working 2 part-time jobs, 3 part-time jobs, and still not getting by. We need to change that. And let me just raise one other thing real quickly. I heard talk this evening about a biracial commission or a race commission on race relations. There has been, my understanding is that there has been a biracial commission in Wacomico County back in years ago that came about as a result of the tearing apart of neighborhoods dealing with the building of Route 13 and the building of Route 50 on the west side of town. And I am all for a biracial commission. I don't know if that will meet all of the needs and requirements of the issues that we're facing as a community, but we certainly need to be able to discuss that, and I'm willing to talk to anyone about it.
I mentioned the recession a few minutes ago. A lot of our jobs started disappearing in 2006 and 2007, and we need to get those jobs back. And one of the ways we need to get those jobs back is by the county going after some of the fees that we've been charging as impact fees and such that we're charging to builders. Builders, it's a history in this county. the building industry has been a driving force as far as our economy goes. We're losing that business to Sussex County. We're losing that business to Worcester County. There's a business on the east side of Salisbury that sells lumber. He tells me if 10 trucks go out, 9 of them go to Sussex County with lumber on it. We're losing that business. So the county council brought it up first, and now Mr. Pollitt's office, thankfully, has brought it to us, a plan for us to do something with the impact fees. We have not decided what to do with them yet, but we're hoping that'll kickstart that part of our economy. So I want to thank the executive's office for looking at that with us. As far as minimum wage, I have a little problem with raising the minimum wage to $10.10 an hour or $10.25 an hour. I know that most of the people that work at the minimum wage, you know, it's hard for them to live on that, I understand, but that's not what it was meant for. You know, it's like Social Security. It was a supplementary income, and, you know, it wasn't meant for people to be able to just live off Social Security. Minimum wage is a training ground. It's a part where you go into a job, you don't know what you're doing, you train, and you work yourself up. The other impact minimum wage is going to have, and I haven't heard this mentioned tonight, is if we raise minimum wage to $10.10 an hour, the people that's making $10.10 an hour now are going to expect their salaries to go up, and rightfully so. I see a big jump in unemployment. I see a big jump in small businesses having to go out of business. You know, I hope what they're doing here is I'm hoping they're asking for $10.10 an hour and hoping to get $8.10 an hour or $9.10 an hour. That's the way government usually works. So I hope that's what they're doing here, you know, to get a smaller amount. You know, I've been in government long enough to know that's how it works sometimes, unfortunately. So that's how I feel about that, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Racial economics disparity? Absolutely. We have racial disparity, economic disparity. How are we going to fix it? We can have committees. We can have asset maps, which we've talked about a little bit earlier. We have jobs forums. We have job departments for creating jobs. We have to put these things together and make them available and make the public aware of them. Their education is going to be the key. We're going to see where education has to be so important to our youth coming up very, very shortly, and take advantage of the opportunities. With a 36% minority in Wicomico County, there certainly should be more opportunities for minorities in Wicomico County. And we have to make those available, and education is going to be one of the main ways we're going to have to do it. Right now, we're working with the high schools. They're aware of it. They're aware that they are going to have to make more opportunities available. We are going to have to train the workforce for the next generation, and we have to start now. Warwick is aware of it, Salisbury University is aware of it, UMES is aware of it, and it's going to happen, and it will happen in a very short period of time. People will come to the forefront, and we'll make it happen, and it's got to happen very soon.
Joe, you mentioned earlier about the audit report from the Board of the Board of Education. Not a pretty nice report based on what was presented. What should it, I mean, if elected, what should the county council do with regards to impacting, influencing, encouraging the Board of Education to be, quote unquote, more efficient in doing what it needs to get done? Got it?
Me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
You were looking at me. Well, it's no secret, I support an elected school board, a fully elected school board. The school system spends half of our money. They should be held accountable. And a good example of that, the other day when the school board came in front of us, or one of the school board members, excuse me, and our school superintendent, to discuss this audit, is they claim they did nothing wrong. And when I read the audit and read the remarks, it said they followed their policies. Well, the state auditors did not agree with their policies, but they were correct. They followed their policies. It's in their policy that they can go out and have a $600 lunch or a $900 lunch. I discussed this with them, and I dug this information up 5 years ago, and I exposed it. And I caught a lot of heck for it when I did it. People weren't happy with me about it. But I was seeing some things in it, what I looked up 5 years ago that wasn't good. And if you look at these figures, they're bad now. I've requested all the figures they've spent this $162,000 on. I've got part of the information. And if anybody wants to read this audit, get your email, and I'll send it to you, and you won't be happy with it. So I think our first step should be toward having an elected school board, and I fully support that, and I wish our future legislators would support that also. Thank you.
Well, I've read the report, and on first blush, it isn't pretty. And there certainly needs to be some improvement in at least the oversight on these things, on some of these things, especially the spending in terms of the food. I want to see what the study is going to come out with. I'm interested in knowing what the SAGE report's going to be, the SAGE consulting is going to be, and seeing what they have to say about the report. You know, as an attorney, I always knew that there were two sides to every story. And certainly, when an audit is done, if anybody has been through an audit of any type, you know that it's done on one side without the opportunity to be able to respond. The Board of Education has responded. As Mr. Pollard explained in the beginning, he felt they gave some serious and reasonable explanations for some of the problems. Doesn't explain it all away, and we certainly need to look at that. As far as the school board, I do not support an elected school board. I have gone back and forth on this issue. I thought perhaps I would support a hybrid board, but I have researched boards of education and lived in several areas across the country where there were elected boards and there were appointed boards. The problem with an elected board, I think was brought up this evening, is that you've got people that number one, there's, what is it, Somerset County? Can't even find people to fill the positions because nobody wants to run. You know, it's tough to fill positions for council or other positions because it's tough to find people who really want to dedicate themselves to running. It's a tough row to hoe. But with elected school boards, you've got the problem of fundraising. You've got the problem, there's some people, in fact, we've had people here in the county who refuse to run anymore because of the financial disclosure requirements. I mean, it's a whole different animal than being appointed. And as I believe Laura Mitchell said this evening, you know, there is accountability. You have the governor, whoever the governor is, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, appoints that board, and the governor can remove them from that board. And there's also a balance because appointees come from the Democratic Party Central Committee. They also come from the Republican Central Committee. So we've got balance there. Like I said, I've seen them both, and I prefer to stay with an appointed board. I think there's more independence that way, and there's less owing to different parts of the community. We can still have good control of our board. Yes.
I don't often agree with Mr. Holloway, but in this particular case, I do agree with him. I am in favor of elected school board also. I am for more accountability of the school board to the community itself. The school board needs to step up and answer the community's questions and be responsible to the community. We have to influence our legislators to give the communities the power to do that, and the county council is probably the one to do that along with the executive. And there is an opportunity here, I think, where we can influence the state, and we, with the representatives we have coming in that will represent us in the future, and hopefully we can get more accountability of the Board of Education for the county.
Thank you. Let's thank these gentlemen for their time and the responses that they've given us this evening. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Excuse me. Mr. Hall, thank you. District 4, Mr. Pagano, District 5, Mr. Holloway, District 5, thank you so much, gentlemen. Yes, I'll get you, yes, absolutely. I'm going to give you an opportunity to make some closing remarks. It's very late. Let me actually keep it very, very short if you don't mind, okay? We'll start with Mr. Pagano, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Keep it very short, please.
You know, I've heard everybody talk about job creation, and that's really been my focus for this election. I want to focus on bringing jobs to the community. I've been a jobs creator. I know what it takes. I know what a business is looking for when they talk about creating or going to a place and bringing jobs with them. They're looking for a workforce that can be trained, and we have some of the best training facilities right here in the county. Warwick Community College, how many people here know that Warwick will customize a training program for your company? Anybody know that? They will do that for you at no charge, all right, depending upon what you're looking for. That's fantastic. I wish I had that when I opened my businesses up 20 years ago. The other thing is that we need to look at, we have a lot of opportunity here. NASA Wallops is an incredible opportunity, and we need to start forming partnerships with NASA Wallops immediately. I personally will go to NASA Wallops and speak to the director there. I will speak to whoever wants to talk about creating jobs here. We look at companies and growth companies like Jubilant Cadista, who has created 300 jobs in the county in the last 7 years. They're going to be adding another 200 jobs in the next few years. Obviously, there's something about Wacomico County that appealed to Jubilant Cadista. We can appeal to other companies as well. And I will promise you that I will bring jobs to this county.
Well, I've picked on the school board enough, I think, tonight. I think I'll pick on Annapolis a little bit. We've been talking about keeping jobs or bringing jobs to Wacomico County. We need to talk about keeping jobs in Wacomico County. And ladies and gentlemen, if we're not careful, Annapolis is going to run the poultry industry off the Eastern Shore. And if we lose the poultry industry, we're going to be a ghost town. And I know some people in this room don't agree with me there. But from what we've seen in the past 8 years, it's one attack after the other on the poultry industry. Now, our council and Rick Pollitt and some of the government officials, we all don't agree on a lot of things. And if you watch enough of our council meetings, you'll see it. But everybody on this council in the past 8 years, and Mr. Pollitt, I'll include him in it, has fought to try to keep the poultry industry viable in Wacomico County and on the Eastern Shore. So we're not sitting up there twiddling our thumbs. We're working. And I know we need jobs to come to Wacomico County, but we're also working on trying to keep the poultry industry in Wacomico County and on the Eastern Shore. And I want to thank the NAACP, Mr. Penn, Ms. Ashante, and everybody for this opportunity to speak tonight. I look forward to the campaign season. Mr. Pagano, it's been nice meeting you tonight.
You too.
And we're going to have a lively campaign, I think. So I'm looking forward to it, and thank you. Take care.
We're living in a difficult time. And now's the time for the no-sayers and the people who are bashing our community to step up and offer solutions and work towards common goals and take a positive role and to be role models, not roadblocks. The items that need attention we're aware of. We know that we need jobs, we need education, we need safety, we need youth activities, we need economic stimulus, and we need to protect our Constitution. We're going to work towards those goals. I represent District 4. I'm running unopposed. And we're lucky to have all these honorable people in the room. And when we refer to honorable, I get mail now that says honorable on it. It says Honorable John Hall. And I think this would make my mother proud. Honorable means respect and confidence in your leader's ability. You elected us to keep watch over you, to make and enforce the laws, and we're accountable for the laws that we make. We obey the laws, and that makes our work a joy and not a burden. We want to have a clear conscience, and we want to live honorably every day, and we ask you to pray for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.